Coming soon to own on
YouTube and Twitch.
DVD.
Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be reacting to a video breaking down what happened in the game series we just played, Alone in the Dark. It was a great game, but it had a lot of confusing plots that really didn't feel like it didn't answer a lot. So we're just going to watch a little breakdown on it. Video credits to King Razzle. I'm going to link you the original video down in the description.
Alone in the Dark has to be one of the more confusing storylines that I've gone through in recent memory.
Facts.
It's not so much that you can't understand the story that's being told, but more so that the reality of almost all of it is up for interpretation. Why do we keep slipping into Jeremy's memories? What happened to Cassandra Beauregard? Why does Emily see the face of her father in the mask that Grace makes? And what, in God's name, are we supposed to take away from the empty room?
This is my room. I belong here.
You can make assumptions about how or why most of these events happened, but we're not getting concrete here. This story is quicksand.
So Emily
and if you
went to
let
the
your
tunnel
mind sit for
too.
Too long, you're dead. But to do the best I can in an attempt to relay my understanding, we'll start with a bit of an overview. We play as either Detective Edward Carnby or Emily Hartwood. Carnby having been hired by Emily as she's received a troubling letter from her uncle Jeremy, who's been staying at a place known as Derceto. Essentially, it's a madhouse for wealthy families who typically want to do away with troublesome kin. In the letter, Jeremy tells his niece that he's being hunted by a dark man and that the staff and other patients of the facility are in a cult. Emily doesn't believe him, and Carnby's only here for the money, but once they arrive, they start to be converted toward Jeremy's way of thinking.
Why they introduced this and then they ditched it like immediately. This monster only had like another 2 seconds of screen time after this. I'm confused on the plot behind showing this because it just popped up like it was supposed to be part of the story and then it just disappeared.
It should be noted that, while regardless of your character selection, the story will play out very similarly. Emily does get more context in her tale because Jeremy is more comfortable opening up to her. Carnby's only boon is that we get a better picture of who Grace is, but I would say Emily's tale is much more impactful in terms of understanding the narrative. Anyway, whoever you select will get dragged into Jeremy's mind through, magic, I guess? As they make
so
their
they
way
never
around the
explained that
manor
either.
trying to track him down. All the while having run-ins with his inner demon, the Dark Man, who we come to learn is a manifestation of something called the Hartwood Curse. Basically, all the Hartwood family have mental issues that have been passed down through the generations where they start to have severe depression and melancholy as they age. For Jeremy, this curse takes the form of the Dark Man, who was an Egyptian stage magician that scared him as a boy.
The Dark Man has been with me since I was 12 years old.
So that's
He
who
was standing right on that stage
the
right
little
over
thing
there.
was
For
that was
a
walking
brief
around the
moment,
hallways.
His gaze held mine. And that was it. I recognized him for what he was. The Hartwood Curse embodied in flesh.
Jeremy's life would be plagued by nightmares of this man as he began to have grand delusions, which would eventually result in his occupation of Derceto. While there, those delusions would only grow, his confidence in them being so pervasive that it would even convince others around the manor of the Dark Man's validity, a convincing that may have had some help thanks to one of Derceto's most coveted secrets. You see, before this manor was a madhouse for the wealthy, it was a slave plantation and then an artist colony. Both the former occupants worshipping an ancient fertility goddess that goes by a lot of names, but we'll be calling Astarte for our purposes. The plantation and the colony both having strange stories as to what befell them, but eventually the place would become Derceto, where the worship of this deity would once again begin. Jeremy was correct in his assessment of the staff and other patients, as they were indeed in a cult. They worship this Astarte figure and are planning to sacrifice Grace to it on the eve of St. John's.
So that's
However,
why they was
Jeremy
trying to
had made a
sacrifice her.
pact with the Dark Man where he was going to sacrifice himself to the entity in exchange for the goddess Astarte not to be unleashed on the unsuspecting world. What exactly that pact entailed is anyone's guess, but
Wait, hold on. I think I'm putting it together. So, because of the failed sacrifice with Jeremy and Grace, the final boss was the form of the god, their cult god, coming to life and attacking everybody.
the cult
That's
believed
what
it to be a threat
I'm
against their
guessing it now.
plans. Through filtered words from Derceto's gangrenous ground, Jeremy had learned and recanted to Dr. Gray the prayer that would finally free Astarte, his pact forming a worry in the cultists as the eve of St. John's grew near. To ensure they wouldn't have any issues bringing their sacrifice to fruition, they would begin clearing Derceto of the non-believers, people like the caretaker Mr. Waits, the patient Elisabetta Perosi, and the author Cassandra Beauregard. The final person on that list being Jeremy, whom Dr. Gray was considering lobotomizing, to both save him from his insanity and to ensure his pact with the Dark Man was nothing but a figment of his imagination.
So I knew Dr. Gray was evil. I said I knew he was doing something. I thought he was the Dark Man. So basically, he was killing everybody who didn't believe in the cult.
Well, I still have no clue where Jeremy is, but I think I know why he's hiding. This place is full of lunatics planning to perform some kind of ritual tonight.
Well, that sounds ridiculous. Or rather would have just a day ago.
It gets worse. I have reason to believe they killed anyone who didn't want to go along with the plan.
But was the Dark Man just a figment of Jeremy's imagination? Who the hell knows? We're pushed in two directions in that our character has multiple interactions with this shadowy manifestation, and that at the end of Carnby's journey, it's revealed that actually it was just Dr. Gray in that getup. I'm not going to tell you that I have the answers
look like
because,
Dr. Gray.
honestly, there are just so many leaps to get to any solid conclusion. In my opinion, Gray was actually the only person left in the manor who had reservations about the sacrifice of Grace and was actively trying to break the delusions of the others. He makes a statement in a document that he's trying to break through Jeremy's self-deceit, specifically as it relates to a steamboat metaphor Jeremy is attempting to turn into reality. I would assume that another way he's trying to break through this veil is by pretending to be the Dark Man in the hopes of getting Jeremy to see that the Heartwood curse is a sham made up in his own head. This could also play well with him seeming disappointed once Jeremy is lobotomized by Emily at the end of the game. He's upset because now he can't break Jeremy out of his delusion, and so he also can't break the others out of their cult-like fanaticism. It's implied that the festival is a yearly thing that they do, but this time they have Jeremy's new creed that was passed to them through the Dark Man. So if Gray can prove that the Dark Man is truly nothing more than delusion, he can prove to the others that none of it is true. Again, a lot of speculation, but it's the only way I can fit some of these pieces into place personally, especially when Gray was the only one who seemed hesitant to perform the ritual.
Mrs. Thompson, we talked about this. I'm not sure everyone is comfortable.
Doctor, I insist. This is important. We've waited for so long, Doctor.
Let's just go with the old song. Not every change is an improvement.
Boss, good or bad, we need to move forward.
All in, Doc. Let's bet it all. But we don't know what we're dealing with.
It'll be okay, Doctor. Better even.
As for our two characters,
Nah, she was too eager to go.
Edward's story is meshed into Derceto by way of Grace. She had been involved in one of his cases where he'd been tracking down her father who was attempting to take her away from her mother.
Yeah, I remember
this. In his
this.
chase, he'd run the man off the road and killed him, letting him drown and only saving Grace. A turn of events that he would feel great guilt over, so much so that he seems to have blocked it from his mind. As for Emily, she had some history with Derceto even before her uncle found her way here. Her husband was one of the unfortunate many who would contract influenza and die during an epidemic, Derceto being the makeshift hospital at the time where he would pass. And as she
So
would
we
see
would
him
have played
pitifully suffering
as
from
her.
his
We would have
disease,
had a lot
Emily
more
would become
lore.
ashamed at how pathetic he looked. She would stop visiting him, and once he would die, she would tell everyone that her husband had been a casualty of the Great War. A lie she would live in until returning to Derceto, where it would all be dragged back to the surface. That's the reason she knows both Batiste and Lottie, who were working at the makeshift hospital at the time.
You're still working at Derceto?
Yeah, both me and Lottie stuck around. We're real orderlies now. You remember my sister Lottie, don't you?
But with all that out of the way, let's finally break into what happened at the end of the game. So, Alone in the Dark has a total of 5 different endings, 3 kind of hidden endings, and 2 that basically play out the same, but are slightly different depending on the character that you're playing. To start with the hidden endings, since they are the least likely canonical, they are tied to collecting the Lagniapes and then doing a specific action. For example, if you were to finish the Dying with Dignity set, you could earn the Radical Acceptance ending with Emily. In this ending, you submit to the Darkman and opt to join his congregation, Emily being inducted into some kind of collective with Ruth, Grace, and several other masked figures in the Darkman's underground temple. I guess implying that Emily decided to go with her own sort of pact with the Darkman and embrace him, similar to Jeremy. As for the masked others, you would assume them to be the other people from Derceto, but they don't follow the Darkman, so confusing. Anyway, speaking of confusing, we also have a secret ending with Carnby, where if you've completed the A Goat Without Horns set, you can unlock the One of a Thousand Young ending. Carnby will make an offering to the Demon Tree, and then, when the time comes to sacrifice Grace, if you hit the button prompt, the detective just goes along with it. It's hard to understand what exactly is happening, and David Harbour's over-the-top acting doesn't really ground it very well.
I did everything for her. I just realized I belong here. I'm one of her young.
What are you saying?
I guess the implication would be that Carnby has lost his mind after an evening of insane events, and has decided to follow Astarte like the rest of Derceto. Works out a lot better for them in this version of events, and Emily flees the manor, finding Ruth waiting to ride with her in the car. Something that makes sense if you played Emily's campaign, since they had a friendship in that, but seeing as this is Carnby's ending, it's kind of strange. Then the final secret ending comes with the All the World's a Stage set, and can be acquired by either Edward or Emily. You'll walk up to Grace and give her something to play with just before the final confrontation with the cult, and it's revealed that this was actually all just some kind of play that they were just watching. Emily is Grace's mother, Edward her father, and they talk about parts of the play that they didn't like.
What? You guys didn't like the play?
It was alright. A little difficult to follow.
Oh, I agree. Let's just say there were moments where it left me alone in the dark.
Oh, God.
That's the name of the play.
Whoa, what do you know?
Honestly, this may actually be the intended true ending, and not just because most of the others don't make sense. If you play the prologue for this game, then you can see Grace making her papier-mâché mask out of a script called Alone in the Dark by Cassandra Beauregard. Every objective update is accompanied by a woman, presumably Beauregard, voicing the lines as well as the sounds of a typewriter in the background. One of the documents seemingly...
So wait, I had a normal ending, like a normal ending. I collected the collectibles. I could have... I'm not gonna lie, some of them were crazy. Like when Carnby when he lost his mind, I would have been pissed if I got that ending. The first one's probably not that bad. If I would got the last ending, I would have been fine with that.
He breaks the fourth wall of the game by telling us the combination for a locked safe, and then finally, the game's final relayed objective is completely void of the situation that actually occurs in the standard ending.
Emily didn't seem happy, just relieved that they were leaving, and Jeremy just sat quiet, like a dog beaten into submission. As he started up the car, Emily handed Detective Carnby an envelope with the money she owed him. He sighed, accepted the bittersweet end, and drove back to New Orleans.
To me, this is the wink-wink real ending that everything was just a play written by Beauregard. Everything that we experience at Derceto is just an aspect of the madness, and in reality, we just leave with Jeremy and everything was fine. I'm not sure if I like that, but it is what it is. Which leads us into the most likely ending that you're gonna get if you just finish
this the one I got.
In this ending, with minor alterations depending on who you're playing, you'll attend the St. John's party having just lobotomized Jeremy, and things quickly get out of hand. They attempt to sacrifice Grace to their tree god, but the opposite character that you picked shows up and shoots McCarthy, making him drop the girl and angering Astarte. The big tree coming to life and slaughtering the cult before escaping into the belly of the manor. You'll then have to fight the monstrosity back in what is the only real boss fight in this game, before barely escaping as the mansion burns down, meeting Edward or Emily outside, as well as Jeremy and Grace, who are the only survivors. The four leaving to live happily ever after, I guess. This is probably the most satisfying ending because of the boss fight, but again, I don't know how definite it is as canonical, if that word even means anything here. Like I said at the very beginning, this game don't make much sense. It almost
really
doesn't
doesn't
want to set a firm foot so as to open the possibility that any interpretation could be valid. For example, to go back to the empty room for a minute, what is that supposed to imply? Is it to imply that we are actually a guest at Derceto as well? Emily I could understand because perhaps she was staying here when her husband was ill, but as for Carnby, I'm not sure what I'm missing. Then
I think I remember I read it in the notes. The room is supposed to make you like, supposed to convince everybody who walks in there that they actually belong there. I don't know how or why, but I know the purpose of the room is supposed to make you believe you live there. No matter if it's your first time or like how many times you see it, it's supposed to make you like crazy.
there's also the quizzical nature of Jeremy's supposed death, or not death. In the play from the prologue, it says that Jeremy hung himself in the attic. Then we get another scene in the game, if you finish another Lagniappe set, where Jeremy contemplates it but doesn't actually follow through. From what I understand, in the original game that this one is based on, Jeremy did actually finish the deed, so we're playing in a strange mishmash of universes where he feels like he should have died, but didn't. I've never played the original. I don't think it's necessary to understand the story, but if this is a reference,
the
as a
graphics
player,
on that
it's
kind of
very
rough.
confusing. But yeah, those are my interpretations. Maybe I'm wrong. I tried to cross-reference some info on the wiki, but that thing's not exactly bursting with lore, so here we are. Anyways, if you played it, let me know what you think. I'd like to thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you all in the next one.
Bruh, a lot happened. I think if I would have got one of the last secret ending, that probably would have been better. But I knew there was a reason it was collected, all those collectibles. I just couldn't put it together. And then the boss fight happened instantly. It was weird because it made the chapters shorter. If you watch this video and don't even know what I'm talking about, I did an entire playthrough of Alone in the Dark. I'm gonna link it down at the outro. You know, just go ahead, tap in. You know, I'm just saying, I'm not gonna say too much. You know what happened, but you already done got a little lore breakdown, but that's not the full story of it. You know, I'm gonna see y'all boys later. Love y'all.
Why you standing all by yourself? Those shoes are made for dancing with someone else. Why don't we move on?